Buddy, Marvin, and Debbie's here, and Sandy and Martha are absent right now, but they'll both be here before the meeting's over. Do we have anything for open forum? Okay, no open forum. Okay, we need to approve the minutes for the September 19th, September 25th, and October 3rd meetings.
I know we approve.
Second.
Okay, Marvin made the motion, Buddy second. All in favor? Motion carried.
On this one, Martha, sign it when she conducted this one. Right there. Is that all right, or I didn't know how to do that?
Which one?
I got this one right here.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Today's date? 17th?
I need a board member and Andy to sign.
Yeah.
And I need a board member and you to sign, and Martha will sign that one.
Okay. Our next item of business is the approval of the 2013 retirement plan for the hospital. And it's the TCDRS contribution rate. Do you have any discussion on that, or?
Is there any,
Do you have anything to tell us about this, Andy?
Honestly, Marvin, I hadn't even, I was
Is
glanced
it
at
this
it. Is it
right
that
here,
all?
the
Yes,
2.31%?
Yes, ma'am, because that's what it is right now, and that's what it's going up to.
This is our, this is like an annual increase or something?
Well,
any
yeah,
vote or
it goes
cons
up.
or any controversy or any,
Okay, so our percentage will be 2.31%.
Yes.
Right now it's 2.08, and I don't know exactly what the UAAL stands for.
I guess that's I don't know what that stands for either, I guess that's just the
Is that just the
increase.
kind of like a cost of living increase, but it's a retirement plan, or it has something to do with our payroll?
That COLA is cost of living.
Yeah, that is, but let's see.
Of course, I don't really think that we have much of a choice on this. It's just something we have to approve to stay in this program. Isn't that right?
well, it's like from the you and I making motions and second and all that at the moment. I guess it's I'll make a motion and not knowing what I'm.
I'll
Well,
second.
okay.
What
so
this is, Buddy, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay. Any other
What this
discussion?
does is, every full-time employee with the hospital, they take out 4% out of their check.
Okay.
And at the end of the month, then the hospital will match this, it'll match with right now it's 2.8%.
And that's 2.31 on.
That will be
12 and 13,
starting
okay.
the first of the year.
Right, okay.
They'll match that contribution rate.
Well, I'll stay with the motion then.
Okay, so Buddy made the motion, Marvin seconded. All in favor? Motion passed. Okay, administrators' reports. Andy, you need to tell us anything, any changes or
No, not
anything?
really.
Anybody have any questions on the report you got in your packet?
Hopefully, any PTO policy things at the back, I've done some more research on that, but I don't think we need to discuss it yet today, but.
No, it's not, it's really nothing we can discuss or do anything about now.
I just want y'all to think about what your suggestions would be, and
Okay.
whenever we get into the budget.
We'll discuss that further on.
Yeah, but, I mean,
We
it's
can
not on,
discuss.
it's not on here to vote or anything.
I understand, but, at some point we do.
Yeah,
Yes,
we'll have to.
I need to know how y'all want me to start
That's
handling
just
all
gonna
that.
have to have some kind of limitation
Well, I know that a lot of companies allow you to carry forward so many hours,
Okay, so
but-
many, but there should be
but
a
ours is
limit.
480.
Should be a limit.
480 hours.
That's a
That'd
lot.
be
$20, that's a lick.
Yeah.
Well, when we get into the budget discussion, again, part of what I need to discuss, whenever we start going over the expenses.
Well, probably what we ought to do is maybe check around with.
Oh,
some
I've
that-
done that already.
Have you?
I
Okay.
just don't know where the appropriate time to,
And then
tell you
Andy
all my
did hire
findings.
a new clinic receptionist.
See what?
Andy hired a new clinic receptionist,
Okay, who is it, do you know?
Lauren McDonald.
Okay, all right, okay, the McDonald crew.
should officially start probably Monday morning. We're doing HIPAA certifications and things during our off time. She may not be able to start officially for another week because of notice of her other job. and stuff.
You know, she's got about 8 years' experience with Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Well, I knew she had worked for them,
Mhm.
so that ought to be a leg up on
Hopefully.
this,
Anybody else want to ask Andy anything about his report?
I try to make them as complete as I can, so y'all can.
Okay. Did y'all get a chance to look over, James's, nursing home
If you
report?
have any questions on it.
Doesn't look like there's much
Just one
report
page
on
there,
it.
okay.
And the other issue that I've talked to you about, I did get that delayed. So, we're not gonna have to put anything in escrow
Okay.
unless the plan of correction is not accepted.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure that it is going to be accepted at this point.
And what he's talking about is the nursing home sprinkler system in it,
Yes.
because it's not, it didn't pass.
For the second year in a row, so. Which is kind of odd because the department of, the head guy at state approved it last year. Well, the inspector come back and failed it again, so I called the boss again and they clarified what exactly they're wanting us to do, and hopefully Total Fire and Safety is going to be able to give us those line pressures, I guess is what they're looking for, George.
They wanted us to put up $36,000 escrow until the work is completed. Okay.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any questions, about the nursing home? James, will you hand that to Buddy?
You know, Buddy.
Okay, George, do you have anything to add other than your sheet?
Don't think so, 'cause I've been gone ever since that sheet was written.
Okay.
That's why it was so short, Joe.
That's probably
No, I
why.
think that what he did, he just finally took off that stuff that's been on there for the last 2 years. That's, Marina's, QA report. You're just supposed to look through it. Okay, we don't have any more department heads here. We have no medical staff here. We have no board members here.
We have no board. Why are we here?
Well, we're not gonna be here long, at this rate.
That's not the way you're going through this.
Well, do you want me to slow down?
Please don't.
Okay.
I've had
All
a
right.
long day.
The hospital accounts payable, y'all have any questions on any of these checks that were written?
What happened with the water supply? 3,000.
Well,
It's down considerably from where it was.
The laundry at the nursing home.
Yeah.
We use that much.
Oh, every day, thing runs
everybody.
6 hours a day.
is it all on one meter or two separate meters?
A lot of water goes through that.
But is it one check or what?
Yes, this one check.
So you gotta consider you got, 26 employees that are bathed daily. You're cooking meals, 3
Not
meals a day in
employees.
the nursing
The
home.
Residents,
Yeah.
Employees.
Employees.
I'm gonna take a nap.
They can
That's
really
why,
base-
so I,
they can base-
we're Bay.
What do they make it?
No, you got, your, nursing home residents, and you've got their meals, and you've got cleaning to do, and then the hospital, basically the same
Right.
thing.
We're doing whirlpools over there now, which we haven't done in forever.
Does this report from the
Yeah,
innovative healthcare management come under accounts payable and receivable?
Well, I think we actually had it under administrator's report, but
Yeah,
it
they
was,
did, that ain't
I would be happy, I wish the progress was faster, but, man, you're starting to really see some stuff getting cleaned up there now.
Well, on that report, we'll go back to that right quick. There's so many papers, where's my report? Right here.
Now, this is what's outstanding over here, right?
Yeah, the colored paper,
Right.
yeah, you look at the bottom, and then the top one's where they started in July.
Is this began to come back to the
Yeah, if you-
pipeline and,
If you look at the bottom at the totals, you're starting to, the reason the grand total is so much on the as of 9/30 is because we have so many inpatients that haven't been billed out yet, so it's really starting to look a lot better, but if you'll see, the numbers at the bottom are shifting more to the left instead of all to the right.
right.
That means we're cleaning up stuff right and left, and we have
People we were paying all this money to are doing it.
they are starting to get some major results.
That's
And
right.
And I like the fact that they're getting our charge master cleaned up.
yes, that's there's one person there every last 2 weeks that's there strictly focusing on fixing. Our charge capture is going to improve so much in the next year that I think y'all are gonna be shocked at that. There's
But
just-
I may be looking at this wrong, but are we really making that much progress?
Well, as you see, the 0 to 30 days is where your bigger balance is, and the 31 to 60 is where the,
Well, I'm looking at over
Yeah.
365 days.
oh,
There's
those
not
things-
much difference.
there's not a lot we can do about that. Even Medicare doesn't pay after a year.
That's just over, that's just gone.
Most of it, yes.
Basically, it's gone.
We're
I
trying to
know it's,
recapture
raising
some of
some
it.
eyebrows when people get these bills from way back when, I can tell you that, 'cause
Yeah.
I've had a few comments about that.
Probably. The receipt
Yeah.
unit is turning from cash.
Yes, it is. Well, I hate to just tell you, I know what the charges are. We haven't started getting all the collections in yet, but the charges
70,000
in 1 month, yes. And we've got another 30,000 so far this month.
You
So
can throw that in on what it costs.
Now you
We
can-
don't pay for that.
we're estimating that probably 70% of that will be collected.
And is this working?
So far, so good. We're making some changes, some slight things, but yeah, it's working. It's working better. It's not working great yet. It's working better. But yeah, I keep watching those numbers changing. They give me this report weekly instead of monthly like I do. That shift is, like I said, we've got a lot of swing bed and inpatients coming in the next week and a half. That should be a little over 200,000 in one's deposit coming from Medicare, so. Yeah, I'm pretty pleased with, I see what's happening there.
Okay, y'all have any more questions on that? Okay, what about the accounts payable? Did you have any more questions other than water on accounts
No,
payable?
I kinda went through that thing and I don't see where we could do anything about any of it really as far as that goes. One thing we keep getting on here that, Tammy is, still requesting the building and whatnot. Is this, how come you brought it?
Yeah, I'll bring it up when we go through budget. Okay, and I'll explain there's a few things on the capital request there that
Until we
I
get
need to be
our
straightforward.
revenue and our, what we've spent, kind of know what we are, these big things you're gonna have to wait. Okay, what about the ambulance, accounts payable? Do you have any questions there?
It's pretty standard.
The only one I have a question about is that dragging that ambulance to Anson. cost us $265, I thought that thing was under warranty, but we still have to pay
The tow trucks.
Okay.
$100 of that was paid under the warranty, but only $100 covers towing. The rest of it was our responsibility.
So actually the bill was
It was $365 for them to come get it.
I just thought.
But
it
if we
was
hadn't
under
taken
warranty.
it there, we would've.
Oh, I understand that, I just thought it was under warranty, and I didn't know.
Can't do that.
Okay, if that's the only question you have on ambulance? Okay, now is the addendum to the EMS protocols and policies.
Now, at first, I thought that would be a pretty simple thing to write. But listening to the realities of what happens on some of the calls, I mean, I think there was a call where one patient was in a trailer house in the back, and it was a man my size. Well, you get two ladies, they got to have help carrying him out the front door, so. I tried to word this so as much as possible, that the paramedic on duty would be given some discretion. I had Rick, our medical director, read this. He said this is fine with him.
Well, normally whenever there's a situation, the sheriff, deputy will go and help. You know, if you have to remove somebody, they've always done that.
The thing that was brought up to me was like at the scene of an accident or something where somebody has to start squeezing, what's that?
BVU.
The respiratory bag or whatever, while the one drives and the other one's dealing with drugs or whatever else, CPR. Sometimes they have to have a third set of hands there, and depending on where they're at and what's happening, it's whoever's there that can help. I mean, but as long Rick told me, and I think Jennifer's in agreement, that as long as we're understanding that circumstances will dictate when that happens.
As long as it's a situation like that and we're just not allowing someone to come along.
Exactly.
You can't have, liability-wise,
It's killing.
kill it.
Mm-hmm.
For just any Johnny-come-lately go in and start.
But
Okay.
Rick, of course, y'all know he's pretty well an EMS. He read this over, he said, we're still exposing ourselves to a little bit of liability with this, but not as much as they need help and they're not allowed to use who's at hand and a patient suffers further harm or worse.
Right.
So he said, you've got a pretty good trade-off with the way this is written.
But under normal, just a normal EMS run, nobody else.
Nobody else. Yeah, we're talking about an extreme critical.
Okay, so,
It's kind of a gray area too, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, I kept thinking about this, and finally I asked Jennifer to help me, but the more I thought about it, the more I was like, good Lord, this is impossible to word correctly where you've.
well, I think everyone understands what that means though, as
Yeah.
far as the staff.
You probably have very few situations where you need a third person.
Especially
Most of the
if
time,
you're-
yes. Depends on the call. If you need
Right.
lift assistance, if you have CPR in progress. Of course, a multiple casualty incident,
Right, I understand, but I
you know,
said, here, around here, it'll be very few.
Very
But lift
few
most
assistants to contact the sheriff's office.
But most of the time, you've either got one or two or three, either of the law or the fire department or something there that it's approved on here, so.
Right.
very
If it's
few
a
times.
bad situation, the fire department's gonna be there.
we do
Okay.
now. We have law enforcement that responds with us now. Prior to June, law enforcement never responded with us. The call that
Prior to you
Andy's-
being here, they did.
Oh, okay, well,
I know that for a fact.
the call that Andy's referencing in a trailer house was back in April. It was 4 o'clock in the morning. We called the sheriff's department on the radio and asked for lift assistance. They couldn't get a hold of the deputy on call. They told the fire department and we didn't get a response.
That's not ours,
That's done and gone, and we're moving forward, so. Okay, so, either one of you two wanna make a motion to approve this?
I move we approve.
Okay, so Marvin made the motion to approve the protocol and policies. Buddy seconded. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor? Unanimous. Okay. Budget.
Yeah, now that we're through.
Yeah, well,
We're on the last item.
Leanne's not here today, so I have to get everything done.
Yeah, now that
I
we're
even
through,
remember to turn on my alarm.
we're gonna look like we hauled the show with all that motion for second, and somebody else not doing it.
It's got Cindy's face.
You should say Sandy, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You thought I said Andy.
Yeah, you said Andy, now, I wanna vote on that one.
Cindy, you have a little thing there with the,
Yes.
okay, this is kinda all like preliminary and we're gonna all wanna take this home and look it over. We may have to have a short noon meeting one day to approve this, but I'm not gonna feel comfortable approving the budget tonight, but I want Andy to explain to you what's in the back of this packet, exactly what he's got.
Pretty well, the spreadsheets you see that are Excel formats with the grid lines. This is-
Last year.
Yeah, this is last year, this is the current budget. I mean, Deborah worked up this budget. That's, let me make sure, yeah, the projected 2012-2013 budget in the same manner that y'all have seen budgets done for years around here. The sheet right here, this is what was actually spent as a whole, I believe that correct, Deborah? This one right here?
What, this one here?
Yeah,
This one.
the one that looks,
No.
that's where the actual expenses, now.
That's the actual expenses or what we budgeted? Or
Well,
all?
Well, that's what was
These are
budgeted and then
budgeted,
what
and
was
these are-
actually.
Okay, I got
Okay?
you.
So you kinda, I mean, what I found as I was going through these was that department heads were taking the previous year's numbers, adding 3% to it or 4% to it, and then just turning it back in, and that's the way that, and then, honestly, I can't tell you if anybody ever looked at it again the rest of the year except for Deborah, that they were proceeding off on a deal. What I have done, I sat down in the last week and a half, met with every single department head, hospital and nursing home, and we went through their budget line item by line item. I've changed the formats a little bit. Back here in the back, where you get the sheets that look like this, these are what each department should be if they were running smoothly, expensing out.
These sheets,
Yeah, these are the ones that I've got like the other, look a little different, I guess is the best way to put it.
One thing, these copies are here, or
Yes.
these are from last year's?
Oh, they are, I just run them off real
This
quick.
is all
I was
last year's
pushing.
stuff.
They
Yeah,
are?
last
Yeah,
I didn't
this
get
is
the current
last
one?
year. No, you didn't.
Oh,
Sorry.
I will
now,
get those to you.
can
and
you
email them to
email
you.
those to
Yes,
us?
I can
Okay.
get those emailed.
so
to you
this we
first.
don't really need, this
No.
is basically this.
But,
Yes.
like I said, this is I've started breaking things up differently for each department head so they can see where their expenses are. I've put explanations for you guys out here to the right of where I felt like it was necessary to let y'all know where the number's coming from, what this entails. There's not a lot of cuts in this yet. And you're gonna see this budget comes out quite a bit less than what we actually spent for the year. And it took me forever to figure out where I was coming out $700,000 cheaper or less than what we actually spent last year. Well, it becomes real evident whenever you get to looking at the actual salaries and what's being paid out versus what should be. One issue is overtime, of course. In the past, they never accounted for it in the budgets. In mine, it is. They never accounted for health insurance in the individual departments. Deborah always had it in the overalls, but it was never there. But the big one, the one that throws it off tremendously, is PTO. What happens with PTO is, for budget purposes, if they're using it, we've got it accounted for in the salaries of that employee's line item. If we're having a buyback on it, it's not accounted for in any of the budget process, it's just added on to the top of the expense. Also, in certain departments like lab, radiology, and nursing, and some things like that, whenever an employee uses PTO, you have to bring somebody else in to replace them, so you're double paying for those PTO hours. So that's how your budget winds up nearly $500,000 off district-wide in your salaries. You get to looking back at, in business office, we just work around it when somebody's gone. But in the clinic or patient care, resident care, like at the nursing home, it gets tacked on top, except nursing in the hospital. I did the same in the nursing home, and as a result, we come out. I still don't have PTO accounted for in this either. I just don't know how to accurately do that with the system we have now.
I don't see how you could accurately predict how much time people are gonna be taking off.
Well, the way the PTO, and just a new hire, I mean, somebody's been here 10 years or longer, it accumulates faster. But the way you have to look at it, the PTO policy currently allows every single employee to get at least 26 paid days off a year. That's the way it accumulates. Yeah. And, I mean, from day one, when they become eligible, PTO is 26.
That just blows my mind.
Well, that's, if they've been there for 10 years or longer, it comes out closer to 37 days.
What if they,
It changes at 6, there's 2.
Yeah, there's three levels there, there's .10, .12,
And they can
0.14.
accumulate up to 480 hours.
They can
but
accumulate.
they would take the PTO time off.
Yeah,
Not
if
the
you,
buyback situation, wouldn't be a problem. If you start this buyback business, 480 hours times $400.
That's where you get into
the
trouble.
budget pretty hard there.
I don't see how we,
You're saying that
well, there's no limits on
somebody
it.
that's been there 10 years, get 26 days a year off?
No, somebody who's been there first year gets 26 days.
They can
Somebody that's
take
been 10 years gets closer to 38.
is that a policy?
They can take that much time off. They don't, if they use their PTO time, they can take 26 days off.
You
If
know,
they don't get that much.
our
time off.
potential PTO liability with no limits on anything is just, it's astronomical, is what it is. We've got to do,
26 days a year,
that's five.
that's 3 weeks vacation a year?
Yes, but that's supposed to take care of paid holidays, vacation time, and sick days. And it lets them accumulate time for FMLA needs, like a major medical thing comes up in the family. And
So those days include holidays?
yeah, that's what, the 480, yes, that includes holidays, paid.
Because there is no holiday pay,
Yeah.
it's straight PTO. If you don't wanna work on Thanksgiving, you put your PTO. If you work on Thanksgiving, you don't use any.
Now, one rule I have is if it's non-nursing or whatever, and if the rule I've got going now, which I'm enforcing, is if the clinic's closed, unless you are nursing staff or ER staff, you are off that day. You do not come in and work. So you have to use your PTO to get your hours in, the full paycheck.
That'll alleviate
But
a little bit.
a little bit of it, that helps, but you're talking about 5 days a year that we're actually closed in the clinic.
Well, you're saying here on this sheet, with this little print, we're at 253,000 over the budget too.
Yes.
Well, would that include some of the stuff we were doing though? Like the CAT scan machine?
Some of it, but I'm looking at just at the salaries line. I mean, it's
Well,
stuff
I
like
know
that.
you are, but this is actual figures of everything here.
Yeah,
Under budget.
yeah, that's.
Hey,
You
so
budgeted that,
Yeah, you
that right
budgeted.
there, you still have 662,000 to the good.
What did you budget on this? What
So
did
you're- you
Does that
actually
include our
came in-
PTO time that we pay?
No. Yes, that was the,
Yeah,
Everything?
This is what was budgeted for the whole year,
Yes.
and this is what we ended up with.
Yes.
643 was
Yeah.
budgeted?
We budgeted
You budgeted 65.25 and we spent.
65.25, and we spent 643, no,
No, that ain't right.
wait, we budgeted
Well, here's 60.
67.78, and we spent 66.25.
Right.
Yeah,
oh, that's what you have left
Yeah.
out of that.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah. So really, we didn't do a bad job of staying within the budget this year on all our expenses, but it can be so much,
That even includes the
we can do
flooring.
so much better than, we had the flooring and things
So
like
we were
that.
under
All that
budget.
stuff
We were
that the
under
state
budget.
come in and made us do, I mean,
Yeah.
that ceiling tile and the flooring and all
Of
that.
course, we don't
stuff.
know how much money we actually made. No, we-
No, we
Well,
don't.
the good thing, is, and I got some good news there, and all I can go is from where I came in December. I mean, we say here we had, what, $1.6 million in the bank, and y'all had just gotten all of your tax revenue in. Well, it looks like we're gonna be in almost the exact same financial shape in December that we were in December of last year, in spite of all the losses we've had with our claims because of the Magenic system. So it's almost gonna be a wash as far as our revenue for the year. Whenever we get all this stuff cleaned out, it really looks like it's gonna come out almost, maybe just a little bit ahead. Going forward, we're gonna have so much better charge capture. I mean, where I'm coming at, I think that we're gonna be over $5 million in patient revenue versus the $4.1 million that we estimated on what we made this year. I'm gonna look at it a lot closer before we meet again to give y'all a better idea, but we're just finding places now what that will mean is we come out and say we do improve $800,000 next year in our overall financial capturing. Well, we're gonna have a $400,000 payment back on our cost report settlement the next year. So we got to remember, we get to keep about half of our improvements. It comes back to hit you on the cost report.
This alternative care is gonna be a moneymaker now, and
Yeah.
a lead.
Well, it was always a little bit of a moneymaker, but it's.
But for Quanah, not us.
But for Quanah, for us, yeah, because you know, just that one department of.
That's nearly $100,000 a year right there.
Right, because you look at the alternatives department, the charges, which we collect about 92% of in the alternatives program, is gonna run about $600,000 a year. Now, with the collections will actually come in probably close to 450 when it's all said and done, but our expenses in that department are gonna be 270,000. So we're coming out in the black. Physical therapy is one that I wanted to talk to you a little bit about. Our charges in physical therapy for this fiscal year, which those are complete and accurate, we just don't have the payments in correctly yet. But the charges in physical therapy are gonna top 400 and something thousand this year. If you look, our total expenses in that department are gonna run us, even with adding another part-time physical therapist in there, about 270,000. So that's a
did we
very
hire
positive.
the second,
No, they haven't officially hired them yet because I haven't okayed that, but
so this is a part-time
this
salary?
is just part-time salary, because it's $65 an hour for a physical therapist. But your charges generated out of that run about 400,000. Your payments generally after all adjustments will come in about 320, 315. So it still makes money.
Well, I think what everybody needs to do is take this home, look it over, and then talk to Andy. I think every board
Yeah.
member ought to make a point to go and
Because
meet with Andy.
it could take 2 hours or 3 hours going through this line
And
item.
then
With y'all
when we get
having
the
that.
current ones, that we can compare, because he said he'd get us the
Right.
proposed, we can
Yeah.
kind of compare it and see.
Yeah, I think if everybody would look through here, adjust, do whatever, questions, talk to Andy, and then when Andy feels like everybody's comfortable with it, then we'll have another meeting to actually all sit down together and go over the budget and approve it, because we really need this budget.
Every time IHM comes in and we sit down, I'm getting a clearer picture of where our revenues were at this year and getting a lot better feel of where we're gonna be next year.
Well, even with
I
IHM, with us having to pay them that, I think it's a very minimal amount of money personally, we're gonna actually be collecting money, something that we haven't been doing.
That's been killing it.
I'm just, the last 2 months for me have been so much better. I feel like I'm coming to y'all with good news and progress instead of, here's another
I think you have us
issue we've got
moving
to
in the right
fix.
direction.
Well, I'm kind of surprised where we were with the collection deal.
Yeah, it's just, I just get better.
Where I'm
better news all the
surprised
time.
is, no, I'm not gonna say that.
But the other thing that we haven't included in any revenue projections yet at this point, because Deborah's got them basically based off of what charges that are in and all that stuff, but, you know, all this stuff y'all have approved on the 11-15 waiver, I think I included, there's, that UC payment is the annual thing, we're gonna clear $260,000 out of that.
That is or is not included?
That is not included in our revenue projections at this point. The quarterly emergency room physicians payment is not included in that now, and I'm estimating that's gonna be close to $80,000 every quarter that we can get out of that program. And that doesn't include the disrupt side of that 11-15 waiver.
We have our new auditor fees and all that, even, okay.
Yeah, I'm including that in there, and that is more expensive, and of course IHM is higher, but overall, I think we're gonna make more out
Are
of it.
we better off paying a better auditor where actually we don't?
You always are.
Yeah.
You get the pros
For
and.
what you get.
Yeah, look at the mess that
Yeah.
we got into and the money it cost us because he wasn't doing his job, and so now.
Well, and honestly, I took a call, Kent County Nursing Home is having to drop him now because he failed they're in the same boat with their license that we were.
The one we were using.
The one we were using.
Okay.
Yes, she's like, I don't know what happened, it caught Kathy by surprise.
I'm thinking that
It's-
we made a very wise decision when we changed.
Believe me, you did. Now, I don't know if BKD is the ultimate answer, but they're doing a good job right now, and I'm anxious to see how they do on the cost report. Deborah's seeing it with some of the requests, some of the information they're asking for us, things that never.
What you're seeing.
What I'm seeing.
What you're seeing.
But I'm seeing that they're asking her for things that she's never had to pull for the other guy before. I mean, it's just.
Well, maybe it's gonna be a lot better.
The guy who was here doing our risk assessment went through the old cost report, and he just like, you know, there's no, he was like, you know, that's his main deal is analyzing cost reports. He kept looking through and he kept finding, my gosh, you know, how do you get by with this without a full-scale audit? And so, yeah, we're moving in the right direction. We're gonna get the right information. It's, but once I realized with IHM sitting there and going through that we're practically it'll be just right even with your performance last year by the time it's all said and done, and we can move forward improving. It really made me feel a lot better the other day. I was pretty happy. So, but we do have to remember that the cost report, Vicki, the next time, you know, we're probably going to be about even on this year's cost report, but the one the next year, it's going to be big dollars going back. Because our per diem will drop considerably.
But maybe we'll have dollars to spend back.
Well, and that's where the Luling trip was very interesting because
I gotta get something from them, I'll be right back.
if the Affordable Care Act stays in place, one of the things that will happen is it looks like they're going to tier the critical access hospitals, tiers 1, 2, and 3, where 3, which is where our patient volumes will put us, we will remain at 101% reimbursement. If you're in a larger hospital that's doing a little bit better, you may only get 98% on your Medicare. And I think the top tier, which is the ones that barely qualify or continue to qualify, maybe get 96 or 95%. If that's the way if the Affordable Care Act stays in place, that's the way it'll probably go. We'll be pretty safe from now on as far as the critical access goes. But if the other party wins the election, I can't find a thing out there about how they're going to handle oral health. There's no point in worrying about it until it happens. But my focus, and y'all are probably seeing it, is to move the hospital away from being so dependent upon the critical access visit. I don't think we ever get away from it. But the future of our survival will depend on outpatient services that we can do and where we can increase our revenue. Stop having all of our patients sent to Abilene for no reason at all. I mean, that's where our survival. lies no matter who's in office. It really, if we can continue to grow our outpatient portions, ER, the clinic might make a revenue one of these days, but it's currently losing. ER will always lose. The floor with critical access does okay, but you know, it's physical therapy, outpatient procedures down the hallway. I mean, that's where we make our money. The 340B program, I'm hoping with the pharmacy, the hoops with you guys, might clear the hospital $70,000 next year. Don't sound like a lot in the whole budget, but
That's a lot.
yeah, that's a big boost for us.
CP is gonna bring in, that's gonna keep people here.
That keeps people in.
That's the whole thing.
And it's working. I mean, we haven't got into James's side on the nursing home yet, but there's things that we have to do there to limit some of our costs. I mean, it just has to happen. But that's my goal and my vision, to get us away from that total dependence on credit. I don't think we ever get away from it, but I'd kind of like to wean us off of it a little bit if we can. And that's where I'm pushing.
Anybody have anything else they want to add, or? Okay, so everybody, you have homework.
One other thing I did promise I would talk to y'all about on the capital expenditures. My big capital, I mean, I know y'all got a list there. There's a med box or something that's on. They have to keep, some of your capital expenditures are on there, if there's things that we have to have in the request in case the grant comes through. The ones that I want to focus on this next year are the physical therapy expansion, because, well, let's say we have 3 licensed physical therapists in this town. We could really, I mean, that's an opportunity for us that other small hospitals don't even get. They just need more space to work. Right now, she has 35 physical therapy patients that are being seen on a recurring area. The other thing is, I've been working on how we could possibly get another ambulance for a backup. I said
I thought we used the other ambulance for our backup. The old ambulance, I thought that's where they kept it for us.
they didn't keep it.
We don't
They
have
didn't
one.
keep it. They got rid of it. I don't know. But I will have on the I haven't included it yet because I just met with this guy today, but there is a program out there that we can get a 2013 ambulance. It's a used body on a new chassis. It's $84,000. They do it 5 years, government financing, no interest, tax exempt financing they call it. But it requires the hospital, city, and county to commit to making sure that payment gets made every year of $16,000. So you split that 3 ways, I think it's $6,000 a piece, I think is what it comes down to. But in the meantime, you know, Jennifer's getting us where we can get the RAC grants. There's also other grants available out there. The hospital district and city and county commit to that they'll pay it, but that doesn't prevent us from getting the grants to make those payments. You understand what I'm saying? It's just it gives us over 5 years, we can get enough grants to pay it off. It winds up not costing us anything, but there is a risk there that if we don't get any grants, you wind up paying $6,000 a year towards that second ambulance. It's a safety. Now, I was going to let Jennifer mention. Did I leave something out on that deal?
It's just as many transfers as we take, anytime we're out of the county, anytime we're unavailable, that's a significant liability. You know, if something happens here, we've got, you know, we're 25, 30 minutes from getting Hamlin here or getting Dayton here. There are not any services in our surrounding area that operate with just one truck. Everybody has at least one backup truck. Dayton has 2, Hamlin has 2, Stanford has 2. So we're the only one that's operating with just one. The issue that comes up with Andy and I is whether or not to license that unit, and this is something for y'all to think about as well. Right now, our ambulance is licensed as BLS with MICU capability, meaning that if something were to happen and we didn't have a paramedic, we could put 2 basics on that truck and run a call. Andy has discussed with me licensing our new ambulance as BLS only. The issue with BLS only is you cannot put a paramedic on that ambulance for any reason. If, we have a truck out to Abilene or Lubbock or just on another call and a call comes in and I'm not on call, I cannot step foot on that truck. You can only put 2 basics on it, under no circumstances. I spoke with Gary with the state today at the RAC meeting. I know Andy and I had discussed whether or not if something were to happen to our primary unit, if there's a way to emergently switch licenses, change things over. There's really not. You're looking at calling the state, going through their whole process of relicensing that unit as an MICU unit. If we
What's
only
the
license
purpose of
it
not
as
licensing it for our paramedics?
maintenance costs and startup costs. If we license it as MIU, it's a mobile intensive care unit, meaning we have to have all the medications, the cardiac monitor, all the equipment that we carry on our primary truck, and we have to maintain it at that level.
What's the purpose of having a second ambulance if you're not gonna have it fully equipped?
Well,
That's
Transfer
my
people
argument, but
that are not critical
yeah.
and leave our emergency unit.
Well, and that and, well, look,
What if you have a critical call?
But that
Yeah, what
still
if you
won't,
have a
that
transfer?
may not work out.
Yeah.
It might not at that particular thing, but.
I can't see having a second ambulance in here that a paramedic couldn't get on. And
Right.
it's basically a non-issue. Why even have it? I mean,
Well, I agree with you. I mean, and you can what if this to death, but say we just licensed it for just basics, okay? Say we needed to transfer a patient again and they had an IV hanging. Well, basics can't do that. And say the weather's too bad for the helicopter.
Well, you don't have to go to your emergency unit, you don't have to go.
Well,
Well, they're out on
that's the
another
whole
call.
point.
What
Your
if
emergency
they're
unit's
stuck here?
gone.
The
Well,
patient
same
is
thing
stuck
we are
here.
right now.
right, but that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. To me, it's senseless to buy a second ambulance.
So you think it needs to be,
I see no point in buying an ambulance that only certain people can use, and I don't know, I mean, I personally don't know that we need a second ambulance. But I see no point in buying a second ambulance that only basics can get on, and if our other ambulance is gone, and we have something tragic that basics can't handle anyway, what do you do?
well, and to clear that, on this ambulance we're talking about here, I mean, it can be licensed either way, that becomes our choice. I mean, it doesn't change our
I think on that,
financing.
it needs to either be all or nothing. I mean, I see no point in,
What are the amounts, Jennifer, of the grants that you might be able to get? I know we
At
don't
the
know
RAC,
for sure.
at the RAC meeting today, I got the final approval that we are 100% compliant. We'll start receiving RAC funds within the next quarter. Total in the next fiscal year should be somewhere between $12,000 and $15,000. Some of those can be allotted towards trucks, some of those are allotted towards injury prevention and some specific things, but the majority of that money can be used for whatever we need it to be used for.
And that's the grants you're speaking of?
That's the one that
That's
she's
the
over.
RAC money.
But-
Just
Now,
that
there's
we get
also
just for
one,
being
there's a
compliant.
one-time every 3-year RAC grant dedicated for a truck that's $35,000.
They actually have done away with that,
They did?
yes.
Oh.
Just
It
this
was still
year
going
have
up.
done away with that.
6,000 to 12,000 a year, that's gonna take a long time to pay off an ambulance.
Yeah, well,
Well, that's just stuff that people may need to think about when they're looking at their budget. They need to, everybody needs to go over their budget. They need to come get with you, discuss with you, and it might save us a lot of time in a long, drawn-out meeting if everybody kind of has a chance to look over this and you can make notes on what everybody.
just to let you, the last thing I want to say about it is that back part that, like I said, looks different. That is pretty well what has been discussed with the individual department heads. So as you go through and look through that,
And he also said that might have a lot of fat in it too.
that
could be
it does.
fat.
I can guarantee you it does.
Yeah, this
Send us
right here, it's got the wrong year.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I thought I was
All
copying
these,
that.
but next year, maybe 10, 12.
he's supposed to be getting us the ones for the current year we can compare.
Okay.
That's last year's.
Yeah, it's all last year's. Okay, anything else from anybody?
Just have one quick thing, one other thing I learned at the RAC meeting today. We applied back in April for an LPG grant, which was a local projects grant. It didn't require anything on our part except me filling out a little bit of paperwork. Not every entity that's involved in the RACD had to do it. It was an optional thing. And I just kind of did it without talking to Andy about it, because I had to make a decision at the meeting. We got approved for that. The RAC as a whole gets $30,000. That money has been allotted as a decision from the local projects to supply all the services that qualified for that grant with a King Vision airway system. So we are going to get, at no cost to us, the same video laryngoscope system that the hospital just purchased. This is like a $3,000 to $4,000 system that we're going to get absolutely free.
Good. There's money there, we just have to find it.
Anything else from anybody? We don't, wait, no, we're adjourned. We don't have to make, we don't have to be here.
Make a motion with adjourn then.
They were upset because they had to make all the motions all night.
Sorry.
See, Sandy was like, she had to order drugs.